Hello all, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about nature of learning and specifying the topic it is transfer of learning. So shall we begin? Transfer of learning. When you carry over the habits of thinking, feeling or working of knowledge or of skills from one learning area to another usually is referred as to the transfer of learning or training. It is a definition given by Crow and Crow. On a simpler note, we can say that it is a partial or total application or carryover of knowledge, skills, habits, attitudes from one situation to another situation. So you already know something and you are applying the skill or the behavior or the knowledge in a different or similar situation. Not exactly the same situation, but something similar to that. For example, when we are in our childhood or when we are in a kind of uh, school, we have taught that when the teacher comes, you have to get up to show the respect. And even in our teen age, even in college, even in a public function, when some elder persons or some respectable person comes, we just stand up from our seats in order to show our respect. It is a kind of transfer of learning. Similarly, we know as a child, when we form a sentence, there should be in our mother tongue, there should be uh, a verb, a subject, and an object. And this standard form, we have applied it in every language we know. So, this is also a kind of transfer of learning. So it is the application of knowledge or skills acquired in one situation to another. Or it can be the application of previous experience and knowledge to learning or problem solving in a new situation. This transfer of knowledge or transfer of learning or training can be divided into three types mainly. They are positive transfer, negative transfer, and zero transfer. In positive transfer, the learning or the training we had in the former situation, the previous situation, is helpful to learn a new thing or to apply. It's a kind of positively it is influencing the present situation what we had in the past. The past experience in one subject or activity is facilitating the learning of another subject or activity, that is called positive transfer. In simple note, we have experienced that or we are told that riding bicycle helps to learn motorbike, and we all agree with the statement. Similarly, we know when you know how to play badminton, you can apply the same techniques while you play tennis also. And basic knowledge in mathematics of course helps in statistical computation. All these kind of examples are pointing towards the positive transfer of learning or training. But even in this type, there are sub-classifications. They are linguistic transfer. As I've told you, you have proficiency in one language which can help learning the another language. For example, if you know Malayalam, you might be able to speak in Tamil. Or if you know the words in Sanskrit, then you can use the same vocabulary in Hindi also. And then cognitive transfer. Here the skills or knowledge in one cognitive domain assist another one. For example, you are good at mathematical problem solving, then the same way of thinking, the critical and logical thinking, can be applied in computer programming. And skill transfer. Here you have practiced one skill for one activity, but it can also improve your performance in a related activity. For example, if you know how to play piano, then it will be helping you in the finger movement when you come to typewriter. And then the next one is contextual transfer. So here the knowledge or skills learned in one context or environment enhance the performance in another similar context. If you know how to present a speech in front of your class or school, then when it comes to a PPT presentation in a professional front, it would be easier for you. Or in another terms, if you have acted in drama, then maybe acting in films or ads, you might feel more confident or you might feel it's more easy. Then the next one is procedural transfer. So it's the transfer of procedures or routines from one task to another. Like you know how to solve a problem, mathematical problem, and you know the variables, you know the values. Then even if the problem is in a different subject, is a basic thing you know in 5th standard or 6th standard, then even when it's asked in chemistry, it's like to NMR, or even in physics or in engineering problem, irrespective of the subject, you know the sequence of doing it. So it's called procedural transfer. Then conceptual transfer. So understanding of concepts in one domain helps to comprehend the concept of another domain. For example, if you know gravity or center of gravity when constructing a building, or maybe in doing some other, in dealing with some other concepts in engineering, it might be easy for you. Then the opposite is called negative transfer. For example, it always happen with all of us. For example, uh, when you learn to pronounce certain things in your mother tongue, that may affect in a negative way when you move to a foreign country, because the foreign language may be English or whatever it is, Spanish. You have that prominent mother tongue influence in the new language, and which won't help you in getting the pronunciation right. So this kind of learning or training in one situation which hinders or interferes or weakens the learning in another situation is called negative transfer. That makes us harder to obtain the optimum results in the new task. This is also called habit interferences. So it is due to some brain's memory systems which struggles to differentiate between the similar memories or actions, leading to confusions and errors. This can be also of two types. One is proactive interference and next one is retroactive interference. Proactive interference means you already have old habits and memories which interfere with the learning of new ones. For example, if you have always driven a manual car, then it's for you to be very difficult to drive an automatic car. And again, it can be retroactive interference when your present habit or present memory interfere with the old one. So here you are driving the automatic car for a long time. Now suddenly your dad told us to drive his old car, that's a manual car. Then you feel a bit of struggling. That is called retroactive. Or you have a new mobile number or a new password, and you've been using it for the last 6 months, and suddenly when someone asks for your old password which you were using for the years, now you won't be able to remember that because you already forgot that password or phone number. So this is called retroactive interference. You only remember the new things, you don't know how to retrieve the old ones. Or you maybe you have shifted to Gulf countries and now only you know how to drive the right side car, and then when you come back to India, now you feel a difficulty. So these kind of interferences, these kind of transfer is called negative transfer, where the new memory is the old one, is called retroactive interference, and the old memory which interfere with the new one or which causes struggle in learning the new things is called proactive interference. I hope you got that. Then the next one is zero transfer. Zero transfer means very simple. Whatever I have learned the past doesn't have any relation with the present one. It doesn't influence us at all. So I know how to swim. Now you are asking me to ride a horse. Then is there a problem for me? No. Because it doesn't have any influence, any mutual connections. So I know how to sing well. And if you are asking me to cook, and if you are making me to learn how to cook, will my abilities in singing helps me or weakens me? No. So this kind of thing is called zero transfer. And there are so many other types. uh, I have seen in some question papers the questions like vertical transfer and sequential transfer, etc. were appeared so many times. So please, it's an important portion, be focused. In vertical transfer, what happens is like, you know how a vertical line appears. So the things you have learned in lower levels will help you in higher levels. Simply, you know how to multiply, like how to add and subtract. Of course, that will help you how to multiply and how to divide. And horizontal transfer, that means you know one skill or you know one set of knowledge and you can appear the same thing in a similar situation. For example, uh, you know how to read, you can read history, science, or whatever things like, even except languages. And near transfer means you have learned skills and knowledge and that can apply situations closely related to the initial learning environment. Example, solving problems in different settings. The situation might be similar or closely related. In far transfer means we have a set of learned skills and knowledge, but you can apply it in very different context. In year transfer, I can tell you one example, like Ramu has 5 apples and one is given to Rashmi. Now, how many apples Ramu has? Similarly, I'm asking a similar question, kind of. Um, Raju was dealing with 5 pencils. Suddenly, Hima wanted one red pencil from him. Now, how many pencil he has with him? So this kind of question is like near transfer. But in far transfer, you have deal with problems of gravity. Now you are applying in engineering or some other topic. Or you know about number of protons and neutrons in a nucleus, and you know about the shielding also. In higher class you know about the shielding, you know about electrons, and now you are solving an NMR spectrum. This is like It's also a horizontal transfer and it's a far transfer because the basics are same and you are applying at a different level. In specific transfer means we have specific elements of learning and we are transferring it to a new task. For example, uh, we are learning a basic keyboard or basic organ. Now you have an advanced organ, but you know the basic things. So you have to apply the same specific skills to everywhere. And general transfer is something where you apply general principle in one context with the help which helps in another context. For example, critical thinking. You can apply your critical thinking even in science, even in your day-to-day situations, even in social science. You just have to critically evaluate. Even you can critically evaluate actors, your neighbors, whoever you want, or maybe a situation where in the history. So this is called general transfer. So we have three more uh, types of transfers, and this one was also important for exam. That one is sequential transfer. Here it is very similar to the vertical transfer. Here we have skills and knowledge acquired in one area and that are used to build upon and develop further skills in another or more advanced area. So example is also the same. Then comes lateral transfer. Lateral transfer is similar to horizontal transfer. We have two different areas. We have some knowledge and skills from one area and we are applying in a different area but same level of complexity. In sequential transfer or vertical transfer, we were applying in an advanced level, but here it is kind of similar um, complexity. And next one is bilateral transfer. This bilateral transfer, we are using skills from one side of our body to the another one. For example, when we use keyboard, we use both hands. Initially we'll be using right hand, then gradually we'll be using both hands so that the process becomes speedy. Similar with writing, similar with playing organ, you will be playing notes using your right hand and chords using the left hand. And even when you're doing chemistry labs and all, you can see that while titration you will be using both hands. So these kind of transfer are called bilateral transfer. Then what are the factors affect transfer of learning? Of course, the first one will be learner. So learners, motivation level, intelligence, and even how depth we have, how deeply we know the subject, what is our original understanding depth, and our personal achievement, and the training in transfer. If we have deal with a lot of problems in maths and we have applied, like if we have revised that kind of knowledge with that kind of transfer, it would be very easy for us to apply. That's why in competitive examinations, though you know the original concept, sometimes you feel difficult in applying them while doing the examination compared to that of a trained person or who went for a coaching. So training in transfer is also an important element which affect transfer of learning. Then how can we facilitate transfer of learning? We can maximize similarities between different school subjects. When you were in a school, you were in your school days, you might have noticed that even the problems in physics and maths at times looks familiar or similar. And even when we are learning something about history, then you will be having a similar chapter or a chapter which enhances patriotism or something like that. When I still remember, uh, in Malayalam there was a poem Pora Pora Nalil Nalil by Vallathol, sorry, I want to say Vaila, but it's Vallathol. And at the same time, we had a lot in history to study about independence. So these kind of things were there. And when in language we have to study the autobiography of Gandhiji, in history we will be dealing with how how Ahimsa movement or non-cooperation movement was there. So let's maximize similarities between different school subjects to facilitate transfer of learning. Then provide examples which are related to real life. We simply know how to subtract 4 minus 1. At the same time, we are imagining a shop, a vendor, then we are giving him 10 rupees and he gave us back 2 rupees. Then that is the way we deal with mathematical problems, right? There was never a question which simply says how's 12 divided by 3. There will be always kind of relating to real life, problems relating to real life. And then comes systematic organization of topic. So the logical thinking, everything comes from the systematic mind. How systematically we are learning, how systematically we are organizing the facts, knowledge, all depends upon, all influences the transfer of learning. But what if you are by hearting everything? What if you are rote learning everything? We won't be able to apply it. You might be knowing the value of G, but you don't know how to do a problem when it comes to gravity. So these things ensure that, or these things indicates that you don't have that depth of understanding. So never do rote learning. Make the learning personalized. Make the learning uh, more interesting, and have a deep dive to the subject into the subject. And you have to identify the identical components. Use that concept of inductive learning and deductive learning, or have comparisons, so that you have a more clear picture of what you are learning. And of course, follow the principle of correlation. These things help to have a clear idea about the subject, and of course these things will help you to apply your knowledge in different fields. So what are the things a learner or a teacher can do to achieve maximum positive transfer? The first one is avoid rote learning. Have an idea about what you are learning. And the second thing is like, try to learn using your own words and your own experience. So try to grab or try to summarize the paragraph and then reproduce it on your own language when it comes to language. Or when you learn the concept, try to identify more examples which are not provided in your textbooks. Then multimedia and multisensory language. You have read something in your textbook. Now go and Google it. See more images, watch tutorials on the topic, or talk with an elder person who knows about the topic. Discuss with your friends. And by doing all these things, you will get different perspectives and different stimulants which helps to enhance your memory retention. And using all these different perspectives and all these different ideas, examples of the concepts you are learning, you can achieve maximum positive transfer. Then make links from past to present and present to past. Now you are learning about color of a compound. Now just think how this color appeared. You can think about Vibgeo, you can think about radiations, and also you can think about unpaired electron. You can think about the electronic configuration, the shells, subshells, atom. So everything you can think about. So you're making links of your present knowledge to previous knowledge and previous knowledge to present knowledge. So by giving a deep thought about the things you already know and the things you are learning, this would help to achieve maximum positive transfer. Then correlate learning with experiences and surroundings and other areas of study. Okay, so you are learning about Dandi March, and now teacher is showing you a newspaper cutting about Dandi March, or you are meeting a person who's a freedom fighter. So all these things will be helping you to learn faster, quicker, and in a deep way. And it also helps to understand the whole thing with more clarity. And then whenever that term or the concept appears, even in a different context, even after years also, this would help to retain your memory. And of course, you can grab that concept from the past and apply in the present. Then integrate theory with practical. So, when I say copper sulfate, what do you remember? You remember the formula or you remember the blue color substance. I saw copper sulfate for the first time when I was in 5th standard, and my grandpa was using it um, for his farming purpose. So whenever I think about copper sulfate, though the formula flashes to my mind, the image also comes to my mind. And whenever we discuss about when we discuss about the theory of chromatography, until you do it your own, you won't be able to think about how the RF comes. Otherwise, RF is just an equation for you. But when you do that experiment, now you know why this RF is significant, and you clearly remembers the textbook and the practical side. So always, whenever it is possible, try to integrate the theory with practical. Unless you pour some vinegar to baking soda, it is just a equation for you. You won't be able to remember how the CO2 comes out. So, as a teacher, one should inculcate the interest in children through experiments and lab work. At the same time, as a student, you can do all safe examples or experiments by your own. This is the only way to grab curiosity or inculcate curiosity inside you and grab your concepts which are provided in the textbook into your heart and apply in different contexts. So this is about transfer of learning. I hope you find it very useful. Thank you.